morning and welcome to Fresh Start Mornings. I'm Lee Smith with the Cherokee Office of Economic Development, and I want to thank you for spending your Wednesday morning with us. I'm going to grab the clicker real quick. But before I start, I would love to do introductions in the room because I want everyone to know who's here in case you want to grab somebody after our meeting, and you'll know who you can talk to, what businesses are represented. So let's do quick introductions. So name and company, and we're going to keep going, and then I'll kick us off.
Stone with Business Radio X. Chris, Pro Hire Resources.
Hey, Nick with Circle of Friends.
Sierra with Pharmalytics.
Ashley with Alice Ginger Senior Placement.
Krista with 988 Events.
Casey Curating Competence.
Gianni with Keenan Studios.
Victoria with Breakaway.
Paul Kill with Insperity.
Morning, Mark Philippi, Innovative Insurance Group.
Excellent. And we've got some folks sitting on the couch that are actually joining us from Ohio, and they're here learning about Cherokee County and what economic development here has to offer with our office. And they've toured all day yesterday, and they're so kind to join us this morning before they fly back home. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Alex Gomershine, City of Hilliard.
Hi, Angela Zodi, Downtown Manager for the City of Hilliard.
Pass it to Kay.
I'm Kay Stebbins with Boyette Strategic Advisors.
I'm Dale Boyette, and we have had the privilege of doing the strategic plan for the Cherokee Office of Economic Development.
And it's Dale's birthday. So everyone wish Dale a happy birthday. Here's David.
And I'm David Meadows with the City of Hilliard as well. So thanks for having us today.
Thank you for joining us. Sorry about the feedback here. Just turn that on. Yes. So, Keith beat me to it, but as we got to Dell, we were going to wish you a happy birthday, sir. So 10-4. Can't forget that, right? Okay, let's get started with Fresh Start Mornings. So you are here with the Cherokee Office of Economic Development. We want to dig, grind, and hatch our economic development system here and help our small businesses. We want to create a culture and community of entrepreneurs, and one of the ways we do that is through Fresh Start Mornings, where we bring in a presentation, a topic that is relevant to our small businesses and our entrepreneurs, or we'd have a business come and pitch that shares their journey and their challenges in a crowdsourcing environment, and we let the audience give you feedback. So hopefully you walk away with tips and tools on how to solve those challenges that you are facing. And then we have the circuit, which we are in right now, which is a co-working space in partnership with our office, Chat Tech, and the Woodstock Office of Economic Development, open to the students, to the public, and those that are working in their own small business. They can rent a hot desk, a private office, a dedicated desk, and work among other members of our community and collaborate. And then lastly, we do a program called, we shorten it for NAV, North Atlanta Venture Mentoring Service, where we work with businesses who want to scale and grow. They're ready to elevate, they're revenue producing, and they want to work with a group of mentors. Experts in the fields of marketing and accounting and operations and sales, and they are paired with mentors to help them do that. And then we partner, because we cannot do it alone, with the city and the county, and Circle of Friends helps us with our coffee. Reformation Brewery hosts us on the third Wednesday. Gerald Griffith with Corridor Publishing, and Bronson Kurtz here with this fancy camera. Polar IT Night Services helps us with the photography, so make sure you show your good side, because you never know when he's going to come and take your photo. And then this morning, we are thrilled and honored to have someone with a wealth of knowledge, 27, 28, 30 years plus in working with small businesses and entrepreneurs, Drew Tonsmeire with the Small Business Development Center at KSU. So he's going to talk to you about those growth strategies, 10 steps, some action steps that you're going to get to walk away with and put in place immediately. And and he's also going to share resources with you about the center. So please welcome Drew.
I will take that. Good morning. I think I met most of you here. Just a kind of quick introduction of myself. Experience means I'm old. And so I've been at the SBDC for 28 years, 21 years at KSU. And I'll explain the partnership between the University of Georgia and KSU shortly. But when you've been doing this for 28 years and you meet hundreds of entrepreneurs, you learn a thing or two. And so what I do is I take the knowledge that I gain from working with so many entrepreneurs and then give it back to other entrepreneurs. But the great thing about working in a university, be it KSU or University of Georgia, this is a learning environment. And so everybody thinks we're about teaching. Actually, we're about learning so that we can then share what's kind of going on in that world. I'm one of our marketing specialists, and believe it, with being old, I'm actually one of our digital specialists. So I live in a digital world, except for TikTok. We're not allowed to do TikTok. What I want to do is just share with you just a couple of ideas about how you can grow your business. And some of these things you do all the time, and some you kind of pick your battles. But the number one thing that's important to know is if you're wanting to grow your business, know your numbers. It means looking at your P&L sheet, looking at your balance sheet, looking at that P&L compared of this month to last month to the same time last year. You ought to know what is your cost of goods sold, what is my pricing margin. So it's about knowing your numbers, because if you don't know where you are, you won't know how to get there to where you're trying to aim at. So that's one of the things that we preach all the time is, what's your financial condition? What are you trying to shoot for? If you're here, what are the steps to get to the next step? So a lot of times, every business ought to have a few what we call key performance indicators, KPIs. So these are statistics that you should kind of look at that are going to be important to your business. If most of your business is coming through your website, what's your website traffic like? What's your engagement traffic like? If you're looking at appointments, what is the number of appointments? What's your close rate on those things? So find maybe 5 KPIs. Some you check weekly, some monthly, some quarterly. But the things that are important to your business, you should be monitoring so you can track. How are we doing? Know your numbers, know your customers. And it sounds easy, but it's not. It is getting into kind of understand who your customers are, what they're about. And a lot of times we talk about segmentation strategy. So there's a lot of different ways we can slice and dice your customer base. A lot of times we think in demographics. Those are those statistical categories such as age, gender, location. Those are statisticals, and maybe that is one segment that you can look at. But maybe you also ought to look at them as their behavior. Where are they on the buying continuum? It's a continuum. And so people go from not being aware of you, but now we move from awareness, then we go through interest where they have a little bit more deciding between you and somebody else, then moving to evaluation or desire, then moving into trial, then moving into purchase, and then moving into advocacy for you. And so some of the things that you do in marketing are to move people through these different segments. And so where are your customers in that buying continuum? Or another way of looking at it is their motivation. Why are they doing what they are doing? Why are they purchasing this? Anybody take a psych course? Ever been in? You remember Maslow's hierarchy? Maslow's hierarchy was probably presented in the 60s. It is still prevalent today. But it's saying that people move, again, through a hierarchy of needs. That they first have to satisfy some basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter. Then they move up into belongingness. Then they move up to safety. And then they finally move up to what's called self-actualization. It's a fancy word for ego. And so kind of knowing what your customer base is motivated by, are they trying to satisfy some basic needs? Or are they trying to satisfy their highest needs of self-actualization? That makes a different way of how you market and message to folks. And then finally, another way of segmenting is what is their objective? A B2B customer is very different than a B2C customer. And actually, I tell people there's no such thing as B2B. It's B2P. It's business to people. And so look at the motivation that's behind that person that is a B2B. What are they trying to accomplish? Are they trying to make a decision within a certain time frame, within a certain budget? You know, most of the time people don't realize that when you're dealing, anybody here a B2B? When you're dealing with B2B, is their motivation is completely different than a consumer. What they're doing is trying to decide is what's going to get me promoted or what's going to get me fired. It's a very different motivation versus a consumer that is trying to satisfy a particular want or need. So very different kind of objective what they're trying to do. So we look at those constraints of time, of money, and then what is their ultimate goal that is in there. So some of the things that you might do is you pick what are those key characteristics and you market to the 80-20, meaning 80% of your sales are going to be found by 20% segmentation. So you don't market to all, market to your segment. And then you figure out if you market to the right segment, you will produce more sales. Be digital. That's my favorite thing. Because in today's world, you've got to be there. You've got to have a website. That is not an option. I come across this all the time. I got a Facebook page. When not everybody's on, I'm a digital person. I'm not on Facebook. There's a reason why I'm not on Facebook. And when, I'm on TikTok. Going, that's not where your customers are. So you got to be in that digital world to meet where your customers are. So you need a website. You should have email. You should avoid a Gmail account. Google does not need to promote your business. You need to be promoting your business. So have a domain that has your company name in it. And there are a couple of people that were doing video. This is the other thing that's happening is content is now visual and auditory. So we need to pull in another medium is it's not just words, it's pictures and movement that is in there. So be where your customers are, is where are they in that marketplace? Are they mobile? You know, are they connecting with you on a smartphone? Very different than connecting to you on a desktop. So having a smart phone website ready, meaning it's got the right size pictures, the font is designed to be seen on a smartphone. Look at your content, again, video. I keep preaching that all the time. And then you've got to look at your social media. Again, B2B, that's LinkedIn. If I'm B2C, that might be Facebook, it might be Instagram, it might be TikTok, it might be Pinterest. And so we've got to pick the right medium to where our customers are. And looking at going, am I looking at my customers who are prospects, or am I looking at my customers that I'm trying to raise their loyalty? We market different ways, different times to different people. Professional development. Again, we're in education. So if you don't have a professional development plan for yourself, suggest one. It is, you need to work on your folks. When you have people going, we do a lot of training. Some of it's mandatory, but a lot of it is you need to improve your skill set. You know, the one thing I'm exploring right now is AI. That is an expanding field. It is hard to kind of stay on top of this. So I'm devoting time to, and it's beyond just the chat GTP. This is looking at there are multiple platforms in AI, and chat GTP is just the beginning of it. It's not the only one. But think about what it is that you need to be doing. What's the skill set you need to enhance? What's the skill set that you're lacking, that you need to improve? Have a professional development plan. If you have employees, you ought to have a professional development plan for your folks. If you are ever hiring, what's the plan for onboarding? The first 24 hours when you hire somebody is probably the biggest determination if they're going to stay or not. And that is the most difficult thing that every business is facing, is finding, retaining, keeping, and motivating employees. So as you grow, that onboarding process becomes even more important. So, what's your plan? What are you doing next spring? What's the conferences that you want to go to? When you go to a conference, what programs, because most of them have an educational component, How can you make the most out of that? Because it's expensive to go to a conference. One of the things that we preach are the ABCs. Every business needs an attorney, a banker, and a CPA as their key advisors. Now I add a G, a geek. This is the world we live in. You need to have an attorney who can review contracts. The time to hire an attorney is not when you've gotten a noticeable suit. The time to have an attorney is reviewing that. Look at your LLC. Look if you're doing a partnership. So you've heard nonprofits. Are you running a B Corp? Anybody know what a B Corp is? Benefits Corporation? So that's a brand new mythology that's still set up through the Secretary of State. But a benefits corporation is one that its motive is just beyond making a profit. What they do with the profits is they distribute for some kind of goodwill. And so that's something new. I've got 2 clients that are B Corps that are in there. And so they operate in a very different fashion what they're trying to do. You need a banker. Is not a bank, a banker. A person that you know. Was anybody around for the PPP loans? Okay? The fact that you got a PPP loan had to do with the relationship you had with your banker. So a lot of banks turned on the electronic ones, and they weren't. The PPP was such a mess when it started off with. If you had a relationship with a banker, you may have had a better chance of getting through that process. So if you don't have a personal relationship with a banker, create one. And then finally, a CPA. Tax laws are always changing, and it's always getting more and more complex. So have an accountant that's helping you with the books. That's the first thing you want to unload in your administrative task, is get rid of payroll, get rid of bookkeeping. You know, a lot of us are jacks of all trades, and that's one of the things you do when you're a solo entrepreneur. But if you're looking to grow your business, that administrative tax is one of the first things to unload. And finally, you need a good geek. You need internet, you need a computer, you need email. So you need all of these technical functions. You need a website. How are you going to update that website? Do your homework. You live in a competitive world, and it's all about choices. And so understanding who your competition is, understand what's going on in your local markets. What are some economic trends that could affect your businesses? So a lot of times when you hear some of these key economic indicators, you ask, what does that mean? When you see the unemployment rate 2.3%, that's what our local unemployment rate is. What does that mean? When we see new housing starts are up by 3%, what does that mean? When you see the consumer price index is up by 5%, what does that mean? And so understanding what are some local impacts of some of these key economic indicators. Look at trends. Is what's kind of moving the market. And you're always asking, how does this trend affect me? Look at roads when they're being built. And then always look at saying, is there another way I can deliver my product or service to somebody else? It's always changing. Could you do e-commerce? Could you have a website that people can buy your product or service online? Could it be sold on Amazon? Could it be sold on Etsy? So you keep looking for different alternatives that are out there. It changes all the time. And keep looking. Is there another way of doing this? Have a plan. It all gets down to, a business plan is what you wrote when you started. We now call them strategic plans when you're growing. And so there ought to be a yearly strategic plan that has a forecast looking into the future over the next 2 to 3 years. What are the objectives? What are you trying to accomplish? What are the milestones? How do you know when you're getting there? How does this affect your marketing, your operations, your personnel? And so, there's an old adage, no one plans to fail, they just fail to plan. And it's so true today. And so, if you haven't dusted off your business plan in a while, dust it off. Take a look at it, going, what needs to be modified and changed? And a key component of that business plan is a budget. And so this is one of the things that we do a lot of. one of our key resources when we talk about is access to capital. So we help a lot of people put these packages together for, like, we're not a loan source. We do a lot of business assistance of putting together projections, forecasts, performance. That's what we do a lot of. Give you an idea, right now, let's see, this year, my office has done $40 million worth. So one of the measures in economic development that we look at is, what does a project do? You know, and if I get excited when there's a $50 million investment in the local community, we do that every year in small business work. So that's why we partner with our economic development partners, because they kind of know small business is a catalyst for that. So do a budget, month by month, at least 2 years, better if it's 3 years. Now, to have a P&L balance sheet and cash flow, especially if you're a non-cash business, meaning you invoice somebody and they pay you 30 days, 60 days, 90 days later, because that affects where your money comes from. And then make a time. You know, on your calendars, you ought to block off time and going, how am I going to do this? When am I going to do this? I'm going to work on my strategic plan. You don't have time next week? Block it off of your calendar in December. Put the time in to kind of work through this. Work through your key advisors. Set those appointments with your marketing consultants. Set that time with a PR consultant. Set those times so that you can do this. Because it's always about plan, evaluate, do it again. It's always just a continuous process of doing that. But the hard part is making a time of what we say, working on your business, not just working in your business. So, looking at our 10 steps. Sorry, I gotta look back to see these. Is know your numbers, review your financial information with a P&L balance sheet, cash flow statement that you're pulling from QuickBooks. It ought to be looking at monthly at least. Know your customers. Where are they? Where are they in the buying process that is going on? What is changing in that? Technology is always changing rules. So where are you in the technology format, and what do you need to plan for? Do you need to buy? I'm all excited. I got a brand new laptop computer this week, which I had to devote 3 hours of downloading all of my old stuff onto that one. So it went a small change, but I didn't have 3 hours in my day to do that. Look at where your customers are. Where are they in the buying cycle? Or where are they in geography? Or where are they going to be 2 years from now? And do I need to be aiming for where they're going to be? Make sure you've got key advisors around you, attorneys, bankers, and CPAs. Develop your people, including yourself. Have a plan for professional development. Do your homework. Keep track of what's going on in trends. Keep track of what's going on in your marketplace locally, or if you're beyond Cherokee County, what is going on. Develop a plan. A plan is written, not here. A plan is written. It has specific milestones so you can track it, and then devote the time to it. I gotta say, Cherokee's not unknown. I lived in Cherokee County for 15 years. And when I lived here, Mark and I were talking about Eagle Drive was a dirt road. So that's how long I've been in this local market. So there are resources, and I'm going to tell you about us, but the SBA, Small Business Administration, has a lot of different programs that are going on. So look at SBA.gov. It's a resource. There's a sister organization that does mentoring, and just like NAV, and that's SCORE. And SCORE has a mentoring program. And then the SBDC. This is probably the hardest for me to explain, going, are you a UGA person or a KSU person? I go, both. So let me tell you how this thing all got started. The SBDC is nationwide. It's in every state, and also being replicated in 9 countries. And every state has a different delivery mechanism. The program started in Georgia, so a lot of states have replicated the same way that Georgia did it, which was using the farm system, which was a cooperative extension service. So we had the cooperative extension service. So UGA created one for small businesses. That's how this SBDC got started in '77. And then they reached out to sister units in the university system that included Georgia State, West Georgia College, Valdosta State, Georgia Southern, and then where I'm at, which is about 6 miles down the road at Kennesaw State. And it's a partnership program. So I'm actually an employee of KSU, but I work in a partnership program through the Small Business Development Center. So I am full-time SBDC. So this is all I do, is working in the SBDC. And so what we do is we provide consulting, training, and a few special projects. So our consultants, one of our requirements is having a master's degree. It helps if you've had business experience. I know what it's like to work in my business and not get a paycheck for 6 months. I've been there, done that. Well, I'm a state employee now. If you ever connect with our office, you're going to meet some of our staff members. Most of the time you're going to meet Carol. She is our program coordinator, office manager, does everything. She schedules all of our workshops. When you call our office, she'll probably be our first point of contact. Antonio Various is one of our capital specialists. He's also bilingual, so he's originally from Venezuela, so he's a true Southerner. Daniel McCoy actually has an assignment for Cherokee County. So if you're here and you want to meet with Daniel, call our office and he's available. Joe Zirkle is one of our new folks. He has a background in asset-based lending. That's lending on accounts receivable. And then Teresa Bishop as our newest one. We have a new program that is under the SSBCI, which is the State Small Business Credit Initiative. And this is a loan fund and training program, and we're just getting this thing kickstarted. So if you have a need for a loan under $150,000, there are some special programs that are about to kick into the marketplace. So when I say we do management consulting, everybody says, okay, that sounds great, but what do you do? It says, whatever your business is, we do. Our consulting comes at no cost to you. That's a fancy word for free. And so most of the time we're working on a project. So we're not a mentor. We're not going to work and coach with you for years. We're going to work on a project, typically 2 weeks to 6 weeks. It might be a loan. It might be a marketing plan. It might be somebody needs to set up their Google ad campaign. We're going to show you how to do it. Not do it for you. We'll show you how to do it. But these are just some of the areas that we concentrate in. In addition to our staff, I've got 65 others in the network. So if I need their expertise, I pull them in. One of the coolest things that ever happened from COVID is we went virtual and we didn't go back. Is we used to see folks across the desk, and that world has changed. And 99% of our consulting is done virtually. And that's because no one wants to travel in Metro Atlanta. My other cities are a little different. They're seeing personal messages. You don't understand. In Metro Atlanta, 10 miles can be a 10-hour drive. You know, hit rush hour. Like today, we're 75 shut down. It's a different world in Metro Atlanta. Y'all, this is Metro Atlanta. If you didn't know, this is very much Metro Atlanta. So we do a lot of training. We're all about education. And so one of the things that will also change this is we have a few workshops in person, but almost everything that we're doing again is on a webinar, just because of the convenience that it presents to our customers that we're taking care of. Now, our training we do charge for. And there's two reasons why we charge for this. One is we have to use this income to pay our bills that our money from the SBA does not pay for. But the biggest thing is this is how you get people to show up. And so we actually have a program starting in 15 minutes on how to buy a business. 2 weeks we're doing a program on financial management. We talked about Know Your Numbers. This is a program about knowing your numbers. I'm teaching a class on SEO, how to do things to your website to increase your organic listings. We have a program on grants. That world of grants has changed. We used to say there's no such thing. Well, there are some things, but you got to understand there's not just free money. There are conditions and opportunities with that. And then we've got a new program that's introducing our SSBCI programs. It's on the missing reality of small business funding. We haven't set that date, and we're setting that in person. So that's one of our in-person classes that are in there. Some other special initiatives, we have consultants that specialize in agribusiness, international trade, minority business development. So we have, again, specialists in these different areas. We don't do much in agribusiness here because we're mostly urban. The SBDC, we've been around for a long time, and we love metrics. So we were measuring our performance, but we're measuring the performance of our clients of who we're working with. And so some of the things that we have found that those businesses that work with us have an increase in sales compared to people that don't work with the SBDC, as well as growth in employment. Because when you talk about economic development, that's our world that we live in. We're talking about growth. We're talking about adding sales, adding jobs, adding buildings, adding inventory, adding things that increase the overall tax base. Statewide, over the last 5 years, we've helped start a lot of business. A lot of people go, oh, SBDC, you work with startups. One, yeah, startups are a small part of what we do, about 20%. 80% of our time is devoted to businesses that are seeking growth. So we're working with growing businesses all the time. We use a federal definition of a small business, which is basically under 500 employees. So if you have between 1 to 500 employees, you're probably going to want to work with us. We track how many jobs that were created over the last 5 years, $1.1 billion worth of assistance. And most of that is traditional lending. It's just small business loans. We don't deal in the equity world that much. We've got our friends at Georgia Tech that we will coordinate with. Just a few of our success stories. These were just some recent publications that are in there. We'll skip to Mark Petraeus. Mark is here in Cherokee County. Mark has a number of massage indies, and we've helped him purchase every single one of those franchises. And last year, he was named Massage Indie Franchisee of the Year.
How many is he up to now?
He is 4.
Yeah.
He's got 4 of those. It's just kind of funny. I was working with Mark on some things, and then it turned out that I got invited to a UGA football game from a friend of mine. And so we went to the game. It was a rainy day, and so everybody had umbrellas and everything. And the guy in front of us was whose tickets these were. And at the end, I know you from somewhere. And we could, on the way home, it dawned on me, this was Mark. And so I called him up on the way home, and I said, Mark, we didn't realize because we couldn't see each other, but you worked with me on it. He goes, oh my gosh. And then Mark and I have ended up kind of in the same friend circuit that's in there. So a lot of our clients are not just business associates. We kind of live this life. One of the things that is kind of unique to us is the passion that we have. Again, I haven't been doing this for 28 years and hate my job. Love my job. Love what I do. I love seeing businesses grow. I love businesses being successful. So I have a passion for making the folks that I work with be where they want to be. So if you're interested in connecting with us, I invite you to check out our website. There's a lot of resources that are in there. Contact your local office, which is here. Make an appointment, probably virtually, that is in there. Meet with one of our consultants. You're welcome to meet with me or any of our staff that we have. Let's develop a plan. Let's develop action steps to make it along the way. Take advantage of some of our training. It's low-cost training that not only do we do the training, but we also bring in outside experts. It's something that we may not have, but we need to go. Yeah, I think that was kind of interesting as a brewery. Just about every brewery that you see has worked with the SBDC. We just found a niche in the brewery. So I was working with Reformation before they were even open. So we've been around for a long, long time. Breweries are fun to work with. It's the product development that's the best part. All right, with that, we're doing pretty good on time. Let's answer your particular questions.
Plenty of time for Q&A, so don't be shy, and I've got a microphone.
It can be related
You
to
do such a
anything.
good job,
Just-
you don't have a question.
If I don't know the answer, I'll make up one.
How often do you recommend making that time to plan or scheduling time to plan your plan?
You should probably devote at least 1 hour a month to do nothing but plan. You turn off the email, turn off the phone, and see where you are. Then from there, you're going, do I need more time? And kind of make it a regular type one. We kind of all are creatures of habit, and we kind of work on a schedule. And I usually find when you have that schedule, and make that time sacred. Don't let other things get into it. It's so easy. Oh, I've got a client who's calling me. I've got this. It's going. Don't take it. Your client's away.
Drew Dick Carberry. The name may be familiar because I interviewed with you all about 6-7 years ago, and now looking at your staff, I see why I'm not on there yet. No hard feelings. I actually received your name from former Professor Paul Lapidus back in the day. So my question specifically is do you have a KPI related to a percentage of revenue dedicated towards marketing? Or is that different?
It's a different number for where you are. The baseline ought to be 2%. That's kind of a baseline. Now, what you do with that 2% can be a whole lot different. Is that 2% of your budget or 2% of your time? So, and if you're early stage, it's probably 5%. Because again, it's a lot. It takes a lot to prime the pump. But I always look at budgets, money and time.
Exactly. All right, so the follow-up question to that is, what percentage of time should be dedicated towards professional development?
One of our goals that we have, and again, we track it, is we have 40 hours a year devoted to professional development. That's pretty ambitious, but again, we're in a university setting, so we're expected to learn. But I would say 20 hours. And that could be 20 hours reading articles. One of the things, I'm a big YouTube person, and that's because I'm your typical internet user. I'm lazy and have ADD. And so I don't want to watch a program for an hour. I want something in 5 minutes. So I'm doing a lot of YouTube. How does this work? How do we do this? How does this try? How does somebody else do that? And then I'm kind of learning on the job. The hard part is the more I know, the less I know. And it gets scary. It's going, at one time I thought, man, I am one of the best Google ad people out there. And then Google changed everything. I went, I'm an idiot. And so it's just relearning this thing. Google changed the algorithm. It changed 2 of the platforms completely. So it's hard to stay up on it.
Is there partnership opportunities with Colin Ake and his new incubator program at KSU?
Yeah, the incubator that we got started is called Hatchbridge. And that's actually right around the corner from our office that's in the KSU Center. So that model has changed a couple of different times. So that is a shared space community. Love shared spaces. This is the way to start. Always keep your overhead low. That is, love incubators. Those are really great. And so they have a shared space, but they also have a cohort training. So they're taking that program, and they're not using us, and that's fine. There are lots of resources. In fact, Kennesaw started up another entrepreneurial program. And then they called us and says, well, you have these resources. Why didn't you talk to me 6 months ago? And then everybody always comes up with a cute acronym and name. And I'm like, you do know the name of your program is one of the top small business lenders in the country. didn't probably do a good job picking the name of this program because you're not going to have the same meaning in the marketplace. And that's because they didn't know. Entrepreneurship is like the flavor of the month. And we've seen this for years that are in there. It takes a lot more. Like here is going, this has been a great idea for a long time, but it took really a lot of devotion, took budget to make this place happen. And it takes dedication. You know what? It's easy to start. It's hard to keep this thing going. That's the hard part. So you got to have a dedication of going, we're going to make this thing work. And it's a long road. It is shared spaces, incubators, they're not a one-year deal. It is 5 years before you see that they gain traction. So we'll have to see what happens at Hatch Bridge.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm Bronson. I own a tea company here in Woodstock. So I read a lot of books on business development in general. I was watching your presentation. You mentioned all the things we need to be doing. And I don't know if anyone else feels like this way, but I feel like I'm not doing most of them. And it can be overwhelming to pick out what is the next step I need to do. And so I see you offering classes, but to make the next step to get into a class can almost be overwhelming, especially in the age of YouTube. Is there like a resource that we can kind of consult that says, hey, look, based on this presentation we saw today, if you're like in the first phase of your startup, you need to do these first 3 things, and just start with something small and simple there. Is there a resource?
If I had to pick one, pick budget. Budget controls everything. Are you on track for your sales? If you're not, you need to do something about it. Are you on track for your expenses? If not, do something about it. And so a budget, and most people have these wonderful business plans and they stick them on the shelf, is what they do. You pull that thing out, what are you trying to do? But it boils down to, you're in business to make money. And so, are you making money? Are you where you want to be? And if you're not, that's when you go, what do we need to do next? And how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah, and that's the part I was trying to get at. So the practical step would be, in my mind, would be like, okay, get your books into a program like QuickBooks.
Yep.
If you can't afford QuickBooks, put it in Excel.
Correct.
If you can't afford Excel, get a free app that will do it. If you keep rolling it backwards, spend 1 hour a week.
Yeah.
Be sure you're I'm looking is there that kind of step-by-step process available?
Yep. And in fact, I get a lot of calls that says, okay, I need a loan. And I go, okay, why do you need a loan? Well, I'm cash short. Then it's going, why are you cash short? Invariably, 80% of the problem is their bookkeeping is bad. I'm going, okay, how up to date is my QuickBooks? Well, I haven't done this yet. I'm like, it's October. It's going, you don't know where you are. This is why you're cash short. You cannot run a business out of your checking account. You run it off of P&L. And so, if you want to know where you are, that's why I say know your numbers. Numbers are the foundation of a business. Why it's different than any other organization is you're running on P&Ls. And so when you're looking at your expenses, you look at your top 5. What are my top 5 expenses? You control those. Again, 80-20 rule. The Perotti rule is in place. You control those 20% of expenses. That's 80% of your budget.
Has your massage MD guy plugged his management team into your education? Because I'm definitely going to be taking some of these courses, but we have studio partners. It's not a formal franchise, but it's set up very similarly. And I would just like to make that part of the deal. You guys have to go through this over this period of time to be part of our family.
I don't know. I don't think so that Mark has made his folks go through it. Because I will tell you, most of the time we're working with the entrepreneur. We're working with the head.
But these guys are entrepreneurs too, in our system. So do you feel like that's maybe something to consider, having all of them to go through it as well? Do they need to be in Georgia? They all have to be in Georgia?
No, there's an SBDC in every state.
Okay.
So there's an SBDC in Ohio.
Okay.
If you're not tapping into them, that ought to be part of your economic development program.
about the SBDC. So what's the breakdown of types of companies that you work with, whether it be like LLC, C Corp, B Corp, nonprofit, franchises? Do you know that breakdown?
I will make up a number.
Okay.
I would say one of the things that we look at is we segment our businesses. So we're looking at solo entrepreneurs, businesses that have under 5 employees, businesses that have over 5 employees. So we segment them that way. 20% are solo entrepreneurs. Another 20% are 1 to 5 employees, and the rest are 5 employees or more. So that's growing. I would say out of that, probably 70% are LLCs, and that's because LLCs become so popular. Most people have no idea, why are you an LLC? That's why I have, why are you an LLC? Well, that's what everybody else is. And when you got to look at going, what's your rationale? Yeah, that's why you consult an attorney. That's why you consult a CPA before you form. In fact, I just had somebody that was, what they were about to do was a B Corp. Well, they already formed their LLC. And I went, okay, so you just spent $100 creating this a month ago, and now you're going to spend $20 to dissolve it because you picked the wrong one. This is why you go to your advisors. They should have gone to their attorney and to their accountant first. But we're going to fix it out. That's a small fix. You know, all right, $120 to fix a problem. For some people, that's a huge amount. So for some other ones, it may not be that big a deal.
But ideally, having your attorney and CPA connecting and figuring out how to connect the dots from the get-go, that's huge.
That's why if you don't tell your accountant what you're doing, they're going to do everything to minimize your tax, which is minimizing your profit. And I had businesses that says, I'm going to sell my business in 2 years. Well, if you minimize your profit, you're minimizing the value of what you're going to sell it for. So if your accountant doesn't know that's your objective, then what you're wanting to do and what your accountant's doing are 2 different things. That's why we have that program today on how to buy a business. That's how a lot of businesses expand. Don't expand in the market. Buy a business that is already there. They have a proven track record. Buying a business is probably more successful than starting one. They're just usually a little bit more capital to go with. A little. You do know what businesses are for sale. You're going, I'm looking for a business to buy. You know what businesses are for sale. You know how you can find them? They're all for sale. If somebody came to you and says, I will give you $100,000 for your business today, would you sell it? No. 200,000? 300,000?
You would have to be like, what are you going to do? I feel like mine's different. And then
Remember, businesses are things.
Yeah.
They're not children, although we would love to sell our children sometimes. Businesses are bought and sold. Businesses are like boats. There are 2 happy days of a business owner's life. The day you start it and the day you sell it.
That's the same for owning a boat, too.
Yes, it is. And that's why I'm going, one of the models that we kind of look at is build your business to be sold.
Yeah.
Instead, because you start getting better at processes. You get better at documentation. You get better. And if you would like to work less than 80 hours a week in your business, you got to work towards that goal. One of my most successful clients, when she started, her goal was to work 20 hours a week in her business because she was a mom. She wanted to have developed times. 28 years later, $2.5 million in sales, she still works 20 hours a week in her business. She just spends the other 20 hours in a lot of other programs, running nonprofits, serving on boards, being a guest speaker, and things. But in her business, she's 20 hours a week.
Lasting thoughts before we round it up with Drew? Thank you, sir, very much
My
for your
pleasure.
time this morning. And we're going to tee up our next one. But before you go, I do want to. We have
everything was still under construction. So we've been around for a while. Well, that's why Daniel's here. We've got two counties that we're responsible for, Cobb and Cherokee. So I've been around, but I got to let my other folks have their turn too.
Thank you. We're very grateful that KSU is around the corner, 6 miles away. So while the co-ed office obviously wants to support our entrepreneurs in the ecosystem, we can't do it alone. And so we have to partner with others. And so one of our goals is to always be looking for those resources that we can bring to you to support you. And so I think the SBDC is one of those resources that we have here in our community that I think you guys should take advantage of. So I mentioned at the top of our presentation that businesses can also present, and so Sierra actually has applied to present in the future. So 23 is full, but we're looking at bringing her on in 24 to share her business of working in the medical field. So I'm so thankful that you were here this morning, so thank you for joining us. But we have Golf to Grow, and so they are currently working now and doing tournaments to raise funds for our local nonprofits, but they want to expand, and they're going to move into phase 2 for an indoor golf platform. And so they're going to present on the 18th of October at Reformation Brewery. So if you are available, please come out and support them, listen to their challenges, give them some feedback. So it'll be a little bit different than what you saw today. And then we want to connect with you. So here are all of our social media channels, as Drew talked about how important that was. Would love for you to stay connected to us. If you want to learn all things Cherokee Office of Economic Development, because entrepreneurship is just one arm that we do. We do business recruitment and retention, film, workforce development, real estate. So all of our entities come back to support the county, the state, and the region in economic development. So our office has a plethora of resources. Our website has a plethora of resources, so I encourage you to check it out. And then please scan our QR code. This will just tell you about I'm competing with the coffee maker over there. It'll tell you about our upcoming events. So we will tee you up for the 18th, and we will let you know about the ones in November, and then any of the events that we have coming up. And then, as always, if you get tired of us, you can unsubscribe. But we would love for you to stay connected to us. And then lastly, I asked at the top of the meeting for your business card, or if you didn't have a business card, I got your name. So we're going to do a drawing for 2 items. So let's see who our lucky winners are. Okay, Mark Philippi.
Nice.
Woo!
Casey won the Stanley Cup.
Casey won the Stanley. Casey got the Stanley. You're welcome. And then Mark, you're going to match Drew. You're going to go to the grocery store together. And get your groceries. No, I'm just kidding.
Go shop with a cop. There we go.
All right. Thank you guys so much for spending your Wednesday morning with us. I wish you all the best and have a great week.
If anybody wants to come
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good to see you.